Hey everyone, and welcome back to some more esports talk. My name is Hunter, and as usual, thank you so much for tuning in, watching, taking time out of your day to come watch this video. Now, what we're going to be talking about is TSM Zoe, who found herself in a situation where she was not able to play in a tournament. That tournament is the Girl Gamers Fest. Actually, they host a lot of tournaments, and she's not able to play in any of their events because of their rules, or what were now their former rules, about how a female can play in their tournament if they identify as a trans female. Zoe tweets out saying that, "So because I haven't had the time or money to legally change my name in my state, I'm now unable to participate in your tournaments because my ID doesn't say Zoe on it. This is extremely intrusive of privacy. You just eliminated several top NA teams from participating." And then if we look at the email in question, it says, "Thanks for asking. Trans women are very welcome to compete, provided that their identity document has been updated with their gender designation change. We know that this can be troublesome to obtain during COVID, so we might open exceptions if we are provided with medical documentation of gender reassignment treatments. We openly encourage everyone to get in touch with us directly and ask any questions. Hope this helps." And I understand that this is a very serious and touchy subject for a lot of people. There are people who are going to be upset in either direction of this decision and that are very strongly on both sides of this argument. But what I would ask is that, hey, let's just look at the different sides of what is being said and what the reactions to this tournament have been so far. As soon as Zoe posted this, we saw a lot of backlash, people saying that it was unacceptable and that the community deserves so much better than this. You and the rest of TSM should be popping off of this event. Instead, we get this. C9 Mel says this is so wrong on so many levels. Girl Gamer Fest, do better. TSM Chrissy says this is absolutely disgusting. Fix your rules because clearly you don't understand how difficult it is to surpass barriers such as legal name change and gender change for trans folks. Lauren says, yikes, good job alienating almost every top female team in the scene. And so we see that people are initially upset about these decisions and these rules that Girl Gamer Fest has, and saying that, hey, you have to submit this legal documentation for your gender reassignment surgery, and then you'll be considered a female and you'll be allowed to play in the tournaments. And people are upset about this for reasons that, I personally had no idea of, and I think that is the overarching thing of like, hey, some people like myself are ignorant of these processes and how difficult it actually is for different people, because gut reaction is what's wrong with, some documentation. Like, that doesn't seem like a bad thing, but we already start to get these whisperings of, hey, this actually isn't as easy as it sounds. There is a lot of discrimination against trans people, and it's a lot more difficult to get that identification that you're asking for, or some people are just too young or in different stages of their lives where they can't afford a gender reassignment surgery. And also, I understand that it's not necessarily gender reassignment that determines if there is in fact a trans person or not. Like, there is so much more to it in behind the scenes. And so I understand that people are initially upset about this, but there was also a wide range of people who just didn't know about these processes. We see Dustin Bowerman saying, is this actually a bad thing? Doesn't verification of documents add to the legitimacy of these tournaments and make it a better place overall? Yes, it does seem intrusive, but you're also competing for money and are helping the legitimacy of trans-inclusive tournaments, no? We get a response clarifying for Dustin, saying that if the access to said documents was easy and affordable, maybe. It's not exactly the case, unfortunately, and with the crazy political situation in some states, it's not looking to improve. But even the TO is open to refine the requirements and accommodate people's situation. To which Dustin responds saying, makes sense, and it is a tough situation overall for trans players. I'm not a part of that camp of people by any means. This is just an outsider's perspective. Just feels like the TOs didn't mean any harm in trying to legitimize their tournament a bit more. Zoe responds saying that there are other ways of going about verifying someone and their gender identity. Instead of asking for someone's literal ID, which minors typically don't even have, or proof of genital surgery, it's not just stupid, it's absolutely effing wrong and way out of line. And then we have some responses by Girl Gamer Fest themselves that, to me at least, show that, hey, they seem like they were just ignorant of the situation. They were in fact just trying to add an extra step for some reason, and they seem to be open to changes to their process. When asked what about an official statement from a doctor or psychiatrist, Girl Gamer Fest says, if you read the screenshot, that's something that we are indeed accepting. The medical documentation can be a statement by a doctor. Still, we're looking into other solutions that could make it easier. They also go on to say that it's a possible idea to get a vouch from the female community to be an option as well. And then responding to Zoe's original post, they say, we hear you and changes will be made. And then the one response, I think I always have one response that I really like to point out in this whole situation, is from one of the color casters for their League of Legends events. She says that, hey, I sent them a message. I think this is a cultural issue. Folks may not know how antagonistic the US healthcare system is to trans women and how many barriers exist. And then she goes on to make a few more suggestions in that same thread. And I wanted to point out that, and that's kind of the same idea that I've been conveying through this whole thing, of she seems to be of the mindset that like, hey, these people were just ignorant of the situation. They didn't realize, and a lot of people from the outside, like I said, I didn't realize how antagonistic the healthcare system is for trans women. And so I think she's just making the point of like, hey, I'm working with these people, like I'm trying to get messages to them to help them out, and maybe like together we can come up with some sort of process that is better overall and that people feel comfortable with, because they just didn't know how the system worked. And I think that's an okay thing to admit, to say, hey, like we were just ignorant of the entire situation. We're sorry. Let's work on our process. A process that a lot of people seem to like is that of Valorant. They say that they do a pretty good job verifying women, and that with the current Girl Gamer Fest process, a lot of trans women are unhappy. They respond to say they've been looking for solutions for a while, but haven't found the ideal compromise between the verification process and total inclusion. The goal is to have a safe place and a competition with the most integrity possible. It's a learning process. TSM Zoe also goes on to recommend the Valorant process, which, looking into it, seems to be more of a visual confirmation. And so the main difference here is Valorant is using this visual confirmation, whereas Girl Gamer Fest was trying to use this legal documentation. And in their response of saying like, hey, we want to find that perfect ground of verification and also total inclusion. And it seems like that's what they're working towards, but it's a difficult situation to be in when there is discrimination out there, and when maybe the system doesn't necessarily favor trans women in these situations to get that documentation. And so, complicated situation. Again, I understand people are going to be unhappy with this video, most likely, because people are going to be pissed off on both sides. And so I totally understand that. I just want to put that out there and say, hey, it seems like these tournament organizers made a mistake, right? It seems like they were ignorant to what was really going on and how the system works, but they also seem to be open to making changes to their system and saying, hey, let's work together to come up with a better answer for everyone. So let me know what you guys think about it in the comments. Until next time, guys, be safe, be smart, behave, and I'll catch you later.